Hello and welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute-a-day podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse, recorded here in the dining room of the Bible Bistro, located in Sharonville, Ohio. Hey there, friend. Welcome back to Daily Dose Radio here in the Bible Bistro. Well, today we're going to look at verses 9 and 10. Now, 9 and 10 is a part of that third section in this psalm, 9 through 12. So we've looked at 1 through 4, 5 through 8, and now 9 through 12. But we're going to break this up. And again, this is artificial. This is not, organic to the psalm. It's artificial by me because I'm trying to teach the psalm in 5 days, Monday through Friday, verse by verse. So I'm having to divide it so that I'll have material for tomorrow as well. And there's a lot here in 9 and 10, so we want to make sure we treat it all, because remember, our study is verse by verse. We want to make sure we get everything. We don't always, but we try to. Or I should say, I try to. I try to help you receive as much as possible. All right, so we're going to look now at verses 9 and 10. Let me read those for us. Behold, O God, our shield, and look upon the face of thine anointed. For a day in thy courts is better than 1,000. I'd rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than to dwell in the tents of wickedness. That's verses 9 and 10. You notice it says, Behold, O Lord, O God, our shield, and look upon the face of thine anointed. Thine anointed there is often used in reference to Messiah. Look upon the face of thine anointed. So, of course, he's in the temple. Jesus is in the temple so many times in the Gospels, and especially there at the end of his life when he goes into the temple and teaches, and they try to arrest him there. The Lord God is a shield for him during that period. Look upon the face of thine anointed. This look upon means to show regard to. So God is showing regard to the face of the anointed one, that is Messiah. And this is a prayer that the psalmist is praying, because you'll notice it says, O Lord God of hosts, hear my prayer, give ear, O God of Jacob. And then he launches into this prayer for the anointed, the Messiah, that God would show regard to the Messiah. And I also want you to notice, as you look through the psalm, when he addresses the Lord, notice how he addresses the Lord. He addresses him as, O Lord of hosts, there in verse 1. O Lord of hosts, my King and my God, in verse 3, right there at the end of 3. O Lord God of hosts, O God of Jacob, in verse 8. O God our shield, in verse 9. And the Lord God is a sun and shield in 11, and then 12, O Lord of hosts. So he uses the Lord's name, the tetragrammaton, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, 7 times here in this psalm, and most of the time it's paired with hosts. So the Lord of hosts, or the Lord God of hosts. He uses that over and over again as he addresses the Lord. And then you'll notice verse 10. Verse 10 says, For a day in thy courts is better than 1,000. I'd rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than to dwell in the tents of wickedness. So you notice the word courts there. We've had that before. Remember in verse 2? My soul longs, yea, even faints for the courts of the Lord. So we've had it before. We have it here again. And we understand the meaning here because of what we have there in verse 2. A day in your courts is better than 1,000. Why? Because if I'm in the courts of the Lord, my soul is not longing and fainting for the courts. So being there is a blessing. To be near the Lord, what a blessing that is. I'd rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God. Well, guess what? The sons of Korah were doorkeepers. So he's saying, I'd rather be a doorkeeper. Well, you're doing that work. He's also a singer. They're also porters and they're also musicians. But yeah, the doorkeeping was a part of what they did. I'd rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than to dwell in the tents of wickedness. Now, compare the tents of wickedness with verse 1. How amiable are thy tabernacles. So the Lord's dwelling is being contrasted here with the tents of wickedness, and we know who dwells there and what dwells there. All right, well, join me again tomorrow, and we're going to look at verses 11 and 12. So go today and draw near to the Lord in prayer and in praise. I'll see you tomorrow here on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. For more fresh and delicious Bible studies, podcasts, books, and more, check out the Bible Bistro online and on YouTube. Join me again next time for Daily Dose Radio.